Postal 2 has a difficulty setting so unforgiving that only the brave or foolish would dare attempt it. Forged in the deepest pits of madness, it serves as a true test of gaming mettle. Your ability to heal is massively hindered, item capacity is greatly limited, and every NPC in the game now regards your life with absolute disdain. Despite such unrelenting challenges, victory is in sight and our quest is nearing completion. 4 days have risen, and all 4 have been conquered. Now Friday begs for the same carnage. What a long, strange week it's been. Each day presenting new peaks in difficulty, often requiring problem solving beyond shoot gun until everything stops moving. The week's introduction served as a fast lesson in the importance of scouring each area for useful items and the high value of flipping people off. Tuesday displayed the viability of melee weapons and using stealth to your advantage. Wednesday bore the scythe and its unstoppable power, especially when combined with luring your enemies. Thursday's frequent backtracking out of areas developed a strategy of planting grenades as proximity mines. What wisdom can we hope to find on Friday?
Stupid alternator.
A complication that's plagued our heroes since Monday will finally be resolved, but the part we need is deep within the Junkyard.
Can't forget to pick up that package. Wonder what's in it.
Retrieving a delivery from the Parcel Center is an errand so simple that nothing could possibly go wrong.
Can't forget Uncle Dave's birthday.
Postal Dude's dad's brother is having a party, but the feds are gate crashing and it's really ruining the vibe.
Oh, I definitely need to get this looked at.
Dude's gonorrhea has reached criticality, and he will complain about needing to urinate endlessly. It's not until you do so that you gain this errand.
Man, I sure hope I get to sleep in tomorrow.
Seeing as Friday is the finale of the base game, I decided to squeeze the most out of it by imposing a few more challenges. 1. The route taken has to include areas of the map that are yet to be visited. 2. Visiting the clinic is required. The whole errand is entirely skippable, but excluding it would make the day feel incomplete. 3. Which should make getting back home truly explosive. The plan of attack is as follows. Leaving the comfort of the mobile home and heading north, we'll cut through the estates before heading towards Uncle Dave's compound. Returning through the Highlands before moving into the clinic, then make our way past the bank and through the Greenbelt before arriving at the Junkyard. Afterward, we'll jump on the train line and follow the tracks all the way down towards the parade grounds to see the elephants, crossing through the forest and hit the Parcel Center before finally returning home.
This seems like a good route.
And thanks to YouTube's exceptionally poor communications surrounding age restrictions, we're going to turn off all of the yucky stuff. But don't worry, this actually makes the game even harder. Edged weapons have the ability to dismember, but it's not based on the amount of damage they do. In fact, with these effects turned off, the all-powerful scythe only inflicts 70 damage per swing, making it incapable of one-shotting even the most basic enemies. With all that said, our journey begins as it always does, pilfering our neighbor's house for ammo, body armor, and an oddly shaped medkit that temporarily boosts our health. The next zone is a straight shot from here, up the road, past these commercial buildings and into this tunnel. The enemies in the street can be destroyed, but they can also be easily evaded. Make enough noise to gain their attention, and when they've passed all the way into the house, use the window as a shortcut to quickly escape and move up the hill. The large number of NPCs lurking this street makes crossing the intersection a problem. With our current health, it's easy enough to just tank the damage and make a run for it, though this is inadvisable for the next segment. The estate is a dense collection of buildings and is filled to the brim with enemies. To the immediate left, a nuke wielder, and to the right, a double rocket launcher. Both major threats. Sniping them would be ideal if not for the noise, but that's what silencers are for, right? Another unexpected side effect of turning off the blood effects is the inability to use cats for their original game mechanic.
Why does this not surprise me?
It is feasible to bait out the enemy's nuke, take cover, and hope the friendly fire clears out the area. Unfortunately, the nature of the map geometry limits this greatly. The varying ground elevation and general clutter blocks much of the explosion. The sheer volume of enemies and the unpredictability of their approach meant it was finally time to bust out a yet untouched power-up.
Yeah, baby, I am the Lizard King.
The bullet time effect will get us down and through this tunnel undetected, and slamming a cola beverage grants double barrels to carry us the rest of the way. Up to the house atop the hill and launching through the window, use and resupply your medkits for another health boost. Then exit through the glass and head into the next area. Here we are in the very spot where Monday ended, but now far better equipped. The many NPCs along this path was a problem that mostly took care of itself. After lobbing this oddly shaped soccer ball, the group got so tuckered out playing they decided to take a nap right there. This house can be ignored unless you've lost your favorite farming implement, otherwise saunter on down the road and straight into the Highlands. Both this zone and the one that precedes it primarily serve as transitionary maps. Very quick stints between bigger areas and tougher fights. Use this building for cover, climb onto the roof, grab the ammo, avoid the SWAT team's line of sight, and move into the tunnel towards the compound. This section closely mimics the Waco siege, and the compound itself is modeled after the Mount Carmel Center where the event took place. In-game, the whole area is locked down by ATF agents.
Comb the perimeter.
And the inside of the building is awash with Dave's followers.
We're not zealots!
But Postal Dude is a slippery son of a gun, and we can follow the path to the left to avoid the initial blockade. There's only one patrolling enemy nearby, meaning we can easily cut across the courtyard unhindered, then using this small elevation to gain extra height, up onto the roof. The compound has multiple entrances, all of which will put you in close quarters with the enemies inside, and without overpowered melee weapons, this is far less desirable. We'll instead take advantage of this burning hole in the roof. From this breach, there is a slim but present line of sight to Uncle Dave's room.
Here you go, Uncle Dave. Happy fucking birthday.
Exiting the area via the blockade is a fairly straightforward endeavor. The open layout makes it ideal for the sniper rifle to remove problems from afar. There's even a triple medkit at the beginning you can backtrack to should you need it. The last agent was gracious enough to lend us his Kevlar vest before having a little rest on the ground, which means that starting the next zone topped up on health and armor. Re-emerging in the Highlands, we're greeted by a conga line of SWAT, but thankfully, their direction of travel is away from where you spawn in. This makes it easier to sneak inside the service station, where you'll need to make a stand against anyone in earshot, as we don't want these bruisers chasing us down through the next segment. We're trying to navigate to this load zone, but the open area on the way there will leave you exposed. Though you're concealed from NPCs in the Trainyard by this fence, attacking enemies on the street will alert those inside, so getting as far as possible before the shooting starts is important. I personally ran through and stood next to this car while it exploded.
This can't be good for me, but I feel great.
To call the amount of enemies in the clinic area healthy would be an understatement. This horde is truly staggering, and they've got the additional support from the National Guard, which are tough enough on their own, even before being plopped into a collective. This massive group just wasn't enough, so be ready to snipe the attendant that will rush you from this side door as well. After clearing the group and moving through this clothing store to get around the corner, head down into this small alley under this grate to grab another advertiser-friendly health item. These doors lead to the front office and shipping depot of the brewery. But a little further in, there's a terrific opportunity to restock in this armory. No good thing comes for free though, so you'll have to spend some of that ammo to repel the ambush that follows. Now you're free to head through these automatic doors and move into the clinic. The silent, pale halls and lack of opposition feels a little eerie, but the relief of having 18 health and finding a plethora of medkits is quite calming. Just next door, we'll find the Vendor Cure, a miraculous piece of medical tech, which offers sample analysis, diagnosis, and dispensation of the appropriate medications in mere seconds.
Try not to splash me.
It's even quite polite.
Thanks for the urine. Have a nice day. Gonorrhea equals true.
Exit the building onto this balcony, grab the dynamite behind the AC unit here, and drop down onto this napalm launcher. The building on the left has a few more health items to recover the points from dropping down.
I feel better already.
And then it's only a stone's throw to the next load zone. To get through this area, it's a matter of getting across this courtyard, heading through this 2-story car park, and then outside to the tunnel. For such a short trip, the difficulties are many and compounding. There is a group of soldiers inside the parking garage, and many more outside, waiting for the green army men to move down the ramp and then using the napalm launcher to achieve two different effects. Enemies alerted from the noise and attempting to pursue are halted by the flame, and those caught in the blaze rush towards you without shooting until they get close enough.
So that's what that smells like.
On the bottom floor, somebody deployed a birthday cake and everyone ate too much and now they have a tummy ache. With everyone fast asleep, we can sneak out of the building and progress. The Greenbelt is a good chance to restock and replenish yourself on this long road. Take out the SWAT guy camping on the billboard and clear the street. Use the vending machine to turn your hoarded cash into something more useful, namely shotgun shells, rifle ammo, and rocket fuel. Then do a loop around this building and head inside. Any opposition is worth cutting through to get the can of catnip in the office upstairs. Heading through this vent at the bottom will lead through the secret escape tunnel from the bank vault. While we can't open the bookcase to easily swipe the money inside, this room is still accessible and the giant giant bundle of dynamite is a fair consolation prize.
You go, girl.
Finally, there is one more SWAT set up on top of this water tower, and administering a totally harmless tranquilizer will net you another Kevlar vest. Head back up the street and then up these stairs towards this lovely little park, and enjoy the pleasant scenery before heading through to the next area. The spawns on this street were quite forgiving, especially compared to Thursday. Sneaking along this watery ditch before ascending up this hill and sliding down in front of the factory is a winning strategy to avoid any unwanted attention, and then at the top of the track, the Junkyard is calling. Crushed vehicles, landfill, and most importantly, car parts are in no short supply. We'll have to assault this fortress of scrap metal and wander its rusted halls in search of a specific alternator. The Junkyard's owner will rush to defend his place of business, but the suspended car makes for a devastating environmental trap. Inside this husk of an aeroplane are some grenades to grab, and then make your way into the heart of the Junkyard to find the object of Dude's desire. Crossing off the errand will alert all dogs in the vicinity to your presence, causing them to tear through the fence and collapse this tower, blocking your return. This small pack is no great threat, but we can preempt them by lobbing this adorable chew toy over the fence beforehand. Alternatively, head further into this maze of crushed cars first, leaving the alternator for now. Past this iridescent pool to the most northern part of the Junkyard, as there is a small supply of weapons and medkits. Here we'll also find some dog treats, which can be eaten for 1 health point per biscuit, or you can take them back to the cage and throw them over the fence to befriend some of the dogs before they're released in the following cutscene. This will provide you with some much needed company while you navigate out of the place. Just don't look back after you make it through the car crusher. The first pass through the Greenbelt was hindrance-free, but this leniency was not found on the return. Immediately at the bottom of this hill was another group of camo enthusiasts, as well as a few other civilians. Crossing left and passing by the factory, there's a scattering of wandering bystanders to get through before ascending these stairs and going through this door. Getting to these stairs, however, will put you in direct line of sight of yet another detachment of troops. 30 minutes of being hard stuck later, pulling the ripcord on 2 dervish cats and letting them lead the charge turned out to be ineffective on the first group. This distraction and subsequent friendly fire gets us to the first turn, where the sniper rifle comes into play. With no more cats, ammo dwindling and withdrawal kicking in, the final conflict would be better avoided. While our path makes this impossible, catnip grants the ability to dodge most incoming fire, so we can blast through everything in our path, blow this door off its hinges, and get safely inside. These medkits are a welcome sight, but now is not the time to get complacent. There's another room to clear up ahead, so filling this hallway with explosive traps will minimize direct conflict. Restock on your healing items next to the fire barrel and head through this door to the load zone. This will drop us back into the industrial area, but this revisit is brief. Jumping down towards this passage and passing through leads to this crumbling architecture. The handful of enemies here can be dealt with by drawing them into this room at the top of the stairs and using the tight quarters and extra medkits to your advantage. Going through this tunnel opens out the level significantly, and while the load zone is dead ahead, conquering this large industrial building and scaling onto its roof will reward you handsomely. Following the rail line cuts right through the suburbs, and the best part is the absence of opposition. But the very next zone is the complete inverse. This shanty town is peppered with enemy vantage points, and the layout makes navigation difficult. First order of business is sneaking down the right-hand path into this building and up to the second floor. Grab the Kevlar and then the medkit, being careful not to move in front of this window as to not alert those outside before returning to the high ground. Since sniper ammo is in short supply, a decent alternative for high damage over long distances is dual-wielded pistols. It's not pinpoint and you can't zoom in, but a double pistol headshot can one-tap weaker enemies. Clear the threats in prime position using the train as cover and any that you can see below before leaping from the track onto this roof and inside for safety. Switch to the shotgun as anyone unseen will rush to find you through the tunnel and grab the dumpster food and then book it through the load zone and immediately turn around and go back. This 1. Resets the map and any pursuing enemies. 2. Works as a free save, meaning we've progressed this far into the map and still have a quick save at our disposal. 3. This was a mistake and I went this way by accident, but don't include this part in the video. The entrance to the parade grounds is now close by, but as part of our continued sightseeing tour of paradise, we'll pop into the Bates Hotel first for a brief respite. In any case, the streets will need to be cleared before we can cross them safely. If only there was some sort of weapon that could wipe out an entire city block. No, that'd just be silly. Using a combination of dynamite, too much ammunition, and the ancient art of reincarnating 40 times, I discovered this magical piece of fencing, enchanted with an aura of true invisibility. Standing behind it makes you imperceptible to enemies, even while shooting them directly. The aftermath makes this little exploit feel very earned. The hotel interior has quite a comfortable vibe, despite the hostility of the outside world, and the facilities provide excellent recovery.
That's the stuff.
Taking the stairs to the top floor, this first room is worth vacating. Tossing a lit stick of dynamite in the doorway, lighting another stick to throw and releasing it as you kick the first can be effective in clearing smaller spaces like this, especially with weaker enemies. Be aware though, SWAT has a massive health pool that can still resist this double dynamite dose. There are 2 machine guns to grab on the bed, and the closet contains treats for cats and dogs, as well as one other item. Now, the scythe and machete are no longer one-hit wonders, but you know what melee weapon still does more than a full health bar of damage in a single strike?
Reintroducing the Sledgehammer!
Bound out of the window and march onto the parade grounds to Earl's Elephant Ranch and Grill.
Looks like everyone in town had the same idea.
Something startles the great beasts, and their resulting stampede wreaks havoc, ruining the day of anyone that isn't you. With all of the human v animal infighting, this large open area, with little in the way of defenses, is easily passed without issue. The same cannot be said of the forest, which is malevolent from the very second you load in, by spawning an enemy right behind you, and even if you take them out, there's a decent chance another will respawn in the same spot. On top of that, there is a military group directly ahead among other NPCs in this parking lot. There is nothing to hide behind, there is no retreat. The only way out is through, so we've no choice but to use the
Obligatory
to ghost through this cruel segment. The final errand is just on the other side of the forest, but there's something that needs taken care of first. All the way back at the start of the week on Monday, I demonstrated the few goodies you could freely grab at the entrance of the sewer, but my attempt at probing further was a fruitless endeavor. The incredible resistance found within was too great, and fighting through the sewer complex and Tora Bora to claim its treasures was deemed impossible.
So I settled on collecting the pistol at the entrance and heading back above ground.
But day after day fell by the wayside, and the week's seemingly insurmountable tasks were all met, challenged, and crushed one after the other. So now, here we stand at the crossroads of a failed quest and the endgame. As a matter of completionism and ego, I used the last of the slow-mo to scramble into the sewer. Progress from this first section is halted by a large grate. It uses electronic locks that will open if you can get into this cage and destroy the breaker held within. Reaching it would typically entail shredding the ambush hiding behind this roller door before getting access to this guarded room. Then taking the stairs and fighting through an extensive run of hallways before finally ending up on the balcony outside. Entering the sewer from the forest turned out to be massively beneficial, as you can leap from the pipe to the balcony, avoiding the majority of the combat mentioned. I also found out later that you can just destroy these gates with grenades. With the way forward open, another squad is deployed to meet you. As this roller door wouldn't normally be closed, they blob up together, prime for explosives. Jumping down will trigger that same door to open, however, so be prepared for the group that spills out. Moving down the drain into the room of rubble, the difficulty spikes dramatically. The setup. Upon entering, there is 3 enemies behind cover. They don't necessarily attack as a group, but it can be difficult to keep track of them because of the many paths through all the debris. The same occurs at the back of the room with another 3, but with a bonus 2 more up on vantage points, and then 1 more beyond that in the tunnel. This is a considerably difficult area to move through, but it gets worse. Moving near either of these 2 sewer pipes will spit out another 3 enemies each. After pistol sniping the 2 up high and throwing a cat at the first group on the ground, I made the agonizing decision to use my only save here. Despite not knowing what lay beyond this chamber, the teeth-gritting difficulty and the extensive setup just to get back to this point before having another attempt was too great. What followed was an absolutely grueling amount of trial and error. Every combination of rockets, grenades, explosive traps, and plain old shooting. This small zone will trigger the pipe droppers, but by slipping under their spawn, they can be dealt with swiftly and silently now that the almighty Sledgehammer was back on the roster. Pressing forward and using the power of dual wielding to delete everything in the way, we'll come to the next segment that requires platforming over a chasm. Defending this area are 2 enemies up on this far balcony, optimally taken out with double pistols, then another 2 on either side. Because of their advantageous position, this is a good opportunity to use the rocket launcher. Charging up the attack uses more fuel to send the rocket further, but maxing out the gauge makes the rocket home in on enemies.
CT rocket activated.
This lets us fire blind from behind cover and still hit our targets. When moving across the pipes, be aware that there is an event zone here that will materialize another attacker high above. It can be avoided by jumping diagonally over the abyss to the level below. Carefully hop over this railing and grab the health item before ascending. The path forward wraps all the way around this balcony, spawning more enemies as you progress. The challenge of getting through this without burning too much health and the threat of being flung back to the previous area upon death adds to the stress. Instead, what we'll do is parkour over this railing, fall to this platform below that is normally for quicker backtracking, and proceed to the level above. From here, we can head right into the balcony, having skipped all of the unnecessary combat, and pilfer this room of supplies. With full health and a little more bulge in our ammo bag, there's one last hurdle before escaping this grueling segment. 2 more enemies spawn in as you shuffle across this pipe, but by grace, the closest has a significantly smaller health pool than normal. Finally, we're free to depart the sewer, somehow ending up in the mountains of Afghanistan. A lingering concern at this point was the potential to soft lock the game. Since these sections are linear and require backtracking out of, it's entirely possible to run out of resources and not have the health to progress any further. So not only is it a matter of making it through any given segment, but playing through it well becomes important. Getting inside is fairly straightforward. Not easy, but relatively simple. Make use of the explosive barrel in the first room and grab the medkit on the pillar if needed. This descending tunnel will have a dozen NPCs rush you. Thanks to this bottleneck and the first carrying a cowhead, the group took itself out. After sniping the camper across the way, move along the chasm until reaching this green couch and use the same heat-seeking rocket around the corner technique. While it seemed to be a glitch, approach this gap with caution in case this happens to you. Hop across these rocky pillars, being mindful of the debris falling from the ceiling before coming into view of this ominous facility. A blast door is barring this path, and to progress, we'll have to cross this bridge and fight our way inside. This will be met with some resistance, most annoying of which occurs when crossing the threshold to the interior, as more combatants spawn outside while you are likely engaged in a conflict with the scientists inside. Tora Bora is an absolutely enormous complex. Thankfully, there are several checkpoints throughout, the first of which is here when plunging down into these sub-levels. The enemy uniforms go from beige to red, granting them Kevlar and boosting their effective health by 50%. Blasting through this next area with this destroyed cluster of pipes, hop down a level and grab the handful of bass sniffers, then down to the middle area for the sick armor, and finally at the bottom there is some more ammo to find. Climb the ladder and shoot a homing rocket into the next room to clear out the solo fanatic. The necessity of this strat will depend on what weapon they spawn with. I ended up quick saving here and having numerous attempts, but always took some amount of damage in a face-to-face showdown. Grab the health kit and Kevlar if you need it, do some more parkour to reach this ledge, and prepare yourself to drop into the Hotzone.
No problem.
There's plenty of hostiles here, some of which you can snipe unnoticed, as well as a group that will rush you, and this is where the rocket launcher can take over. If you're anything like me and play through games, hoarding your power-ups and highest tier weapons, this is definitely the place to break out of that habit. Taking the path down into this tunnel will lead to a dungeon of sorts. There's some medkits, a small restock of ammo, and 2 soldiers that have been captured and request your assistance.
Help us out here!
Laying down a few traps at the entrance as a precaution, there was a period of contemplation as to whether these guys would be hostile. Surely, fighting through throngs of extremely well-armed enemies on the other side of the world is enough of an undertaking to prove yourself worthy of at least not being shot at. Don't be ludicrous. Climbing out of this hovel of disappointments and back into the main chamber, be sure to head through this doorway and top up your health before taking the stairs. A few more exchanges will get you into this room of barrels, and the shutter door on the right shortcuts back to the entrance. The shelves before it, though, have mini-nuke ammunition. But what could we possibly use that for? Given everything we've been through to get here, this final fight is remarkably easy, and there's nothing else to obstruct your exit. We're done here.
The Earth is hungry.
Still gotta fight our way out of the sewer though. Leaving is a little more relaxed, and there's even some medkits left over from this room earlier. Navigating down the platform to the end of the waterway, use a few more heat-seeking rockets to soften up your arrival and dual-wield your way through the rest. Shooting off the electric lock, head left, grab the medkit, and then launch a grenade into the platform with the explosive barrel. After going up the ladder, you have the opportunity to head back home and restock on the few items around the suburbs if you didn't already collect them. Otherwise, continue back across the pipes and pop out in the forest. The forest's return is simply cruel, a nigh impenetrable sea of bodies obscured by thicket and roaming in clusters that swarm. With little recourse, we've no choice but to apply power-ups ex machina, pound down every substance at our disposal, and run through this wall.
One for your mother, and one for the Pope, and one for Bobo the Space Monkey, and one just because I can.
Loading into the southern suburbs, there's a vending machine just behind the meat world. Trade the last of your money and stock up before heading across the street to begin the final errand. Despite the package having your name on it, the Parcel Center is quite insistent on not handing it over. I don't know why it took until the end of the game for a mission about mail. Kinda seems like false advertising.
And done.
The complex is surprisingly well guarded, a network of rooms that quickly fill with opposition, and the many doors offer a variety of directions to be ambushed from. The environment is actually ideal for edged weapons, but only if you're playing with the gore toggled on. And who doesn't? Continue fighting through until you reach the warehouse. Wading through this labyrinth of shelving and pending deliveries will bring more workers down upon you, greedily trying to take your parcel back. Whatever's inside it must be good, because SWAT begins crashing through the ceiling as well. Thanks to these boxes though, we can avoid all of that silliness and skip right to these doors. One more hallway and we're clear to exit. Moving outside with all errands complete casually marks the beginning of the apocalypse.
Normally I'd expect a fancy cinematic to explain such a crucial story element. The font is nice though.
This honestly doesn't change our predicament very much. The only real difference is the burning sky, and cats now constantly rain down from above, which is why the errand closest to home was done last. Climb over the corner of this wall to the other side and stealth hammer this sniper's nest for the food and ammo. Carefully walk along this outer edge of the house and go in through the window. Grab the medkit in the bathroom, hop across to the adjacent room and head inside. Take the door on the right, open the secret bookshelf and enjoy a pretty substantial restock.
Definitely need more of that.
Back at the window, there's 2 more vantage points that should be cleared before going outside. The number of NPCs on the road can fluctuate quite dramatically, so going via this house is advisable. It's even got more body armor and food if you run into trouble. It's a nice little respite, and with this load zone landing us just near home, maybe this last stretch will be a breeze. You know what? I think it's time. it is. Ludicrous, as far as I'm concerned, has been conquered. A woefully unfair experience that is supremely entertaining and really good at challenging your problem-solving ability. Simply comment Saturday if you wish to see another episode, and let me know if there's other challenge runs you'd like me to cover. I love making these videos for you all. You better believe that there's content coming down the pipeline in 2024, so stay tuned. And a massive thank you to all the members currently supporting this channel. If you want to help fund the show and get some nifty exclusives, consider signing up today.
Practice kindness and tolerance, love yourself, and never, ever refreeze food that has been defrosted.